Well, hello, and welcome to a new season of the Cheap Seats. And it's our weekly Premier League show. We're back. It's the first week of the preseason, so we saw Eric Ten Hag taking Manchester United through some very basic drills, which we'll ask Wahid about later on. But welcome back to season 3. Remember, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us not on Gorilla SA, but at One World Sports Radio on the various platforms. My name is Paul. I've got Tep, I've got Wahid, I've got Dean, I've got Kent, and today we'll be talking transfer market. But before we do so, remember we're in partnership with Classic Shirt ZA, that little logo right next to Wahid's head. And for today, we have a doozy, a really, really awesome kit. And that is the Arsenal 2022-2023 home kit, which I'm sure Kent has. But Kent, what do you like about this kit?
I'm actually got my eye on the away kit, but it's still to be announced. But I really like this kit. It has some 90s retro vibes. I think Adidas are going with the same similar-ish colors. I think with United as well. But yeah, big fan. Definitely something I'll cop with a transfer that will maybe be announced tomorrow on the back.
Oh yes, yes, that transfer we're all waiting for. But remember, you can get this shirt at classicshirts.co.za or on their Instagram page. It's actually classicshirt.za, not classic shirts. Let's just fix that as we go along.
Are you gonna get a number 9, Jesus? Because I see he was walking around Emirates with the number 9 today. So
it's the worst kept secret, I think, in football.
That is one cool thing about Classic Shirts today, is that they don't charge you for personalization. You add your name and number to the back, and you don't get charged for that, which I think is a good value. Yeah.
Yes, and you can still use the discount code CheapSeats50 to let them know that we sent you. So yeah, speaking about that number 9, but today's show, gents, is all about the Premier League transfer market. All the news, all the views. We're going to be probably doing this weekly to discuss who's doing what, who's doing nothing, and who's buying players that they don't want, and whose players are actively denying them. So we know Manchester City are a great side. We understand that. They got Erling Haaland. They probably even got Fabio Cucurella. I'm not going to talk about that. We know Liverpool's done Darwin Núñez work. Sadio Mane is gone. We're going to talk about it a little bit later. That's still on the back burner. But the teams that are chasing them had a massive, massive summer coming up. And that is Manchester United, that is Arsenal, that is Chelsea, and that is Tottenham Hotspurs. It's a race, essentially. It's like a 100-meter race for pretty much the same level of players, and everyone's doing different tactics, and that's why we have this going. Cool. So the first team we're going to talk about is Manchester United. Wahid, nothing's happening at all.
Short speech.
Nothing's happening at Old Trafford.
I want a full rant. A full rant.
Frankie goes to Old Trafford.
Is that it?
Yeah.
I must be honest. I think there's certain stuff happening at Old Trafford and in the background that we might not necessarily be aware of, and I think that a lot of work is being done into that Frenkie De Jong deal. And I know people will say that, well, he doesn't want to leave Barcelona and he doesn't want to leave. And he doesn't want to come to United, but I doubt United would be this far down in the negotiations without having somewhat of an encouragement from the player and his agent. The question, though, starts being about what's enough for United in the transfer market, because we had Ralph Rangnick sort of burn his bridges with the board, and that's why he's no longer a consultant when he sort of said that we need open heart surgery and need 10 new players. I I personally think that might be an overreaction to the bad season we had last year. But the fact of the matter is, we do need new players and we do need new reinforcement. So the question becomes, how much is needed? How much of this open heart surgery is necessary? So it becomes a question of Frankie and who else, because apparently the line from Erik ten Hag to the board has been, there's nobody better than Frenkie De Jong for the role that he wants for Frenkie De Jong in the team, and that options B, option C, and option D just wouldn't work for the role he envisages for Frenkie De Jong. So it becomes, let's put all our eggs in the Frenkie De Jong basket and then move from there. And I think yesterday we probably saw the first signs of United being very confident in getting Frenkie De Jong over the line, insofar as that they're now starting to work on other deals like Tyrell Malacia. And I think that's probably how United have gone about their business, being first almost, or getting as close to securing Frenkie De Jong as possible, because he is sort of the king of he's the king of the system that Erik ten Hag sort of has in his mind, and then building from there. So I think it's going to be Malacia, the left back, who comes in probably to get rid of the rubbish Tellez at some point. And then we sort of have to go from there and see where we go. So it sort of seems to be that Anthony is the one on the radar, but United probably have a little hole in the forward line to plug. Maybe due to Cavani leaving, Jesse Lingard leaving, Greenwood not being part of the squad anymore, and Ronaldo aging. I think that if Ronaldo was to play 45 games or more this season, we probably haven't planned well for the season. Ronaldo shouldn't be playing that many games. So what we probably need is a versatile forward to come in to sort of ease the burden on Ronaldo. And I think that's probably how we're going about our business. What do I think is going to happen? I think 4 signings. I think we'll get 4 signings, and I don't think it's going to be the revolution of the 10 that people talked about before the season. And I think that to plug the gaps, we'll probably see some youngsters promoted.
Let me stop you right there. Is it not too late for Manchester United to be in this looking for a second player or even a third player at this point in time, with everybody trying to go on preseason and everyone going on whatever Asian tour or whatever American tour they're going on?
Well, I'm not sure, and I'll push that out to the others, because we've seen players who've come in before preseason and settled well, but we've seen players who've come in during preseason, during the tour, after the tour, and still hit the ground running. So I don't think there's necessarily a hard and fast rule about when to get the player in. So I don't think it's as much of a disaster as people are making it out to be. However, I do think it is. It would be beneficial, considering that the existing players are going to be playing a new system under a new coach. Yeah, well, I think that the most important thing would be for the bulk of the players to start integrating into the new coach's system. But yeah, it would be beneficial, and unfortunately, we haven't gotten ahead of the curve with lots of bodies in at this point. But we'll have to see how it goes. I suspect we'll go on tour with 2 new players in Frenkie De Jong and the left back who's coming in.
Let me bring Kent into this. Kent from the Manchester United.
Resident Fabrizio. He's the transfer guru, the transfer specialist. I don't think the man works. He just lives on Twitter looking at transfer rumors.
Yes,
push notifications on.
Yes, and we're going to have him pretty much all the season long, because he'll give a different Arsenal perspective to me. But Kent, Manchester United, Frenkie De Jong, Malacia, and Anthony, is there anybody else? Or do you even see them doing any other business in this window outside of those 3?
The Frenkie De Jong reports have been very conflicting, but I think they will get it across the line. I think there was a lot of hiccups just with regards to the structure of the add-ons. It seems like it'll be a 65 million euro deal with about 20 million euro in add-ons. I think they will get it across the line.
That's a Harry Maguire sub.
I know it's 85 million euro, but Frenkie De Jong, how much did he go to Barcelona for? I think it was over 100.
Yeah, way less.
It's a hell of a deal. It's a hell of a deal, and that's why you got to give the board kudos for not for not just kowtowing to whatever Barcelona wanted and sort of paying off Barcelona's debt for them. So there is that aspect. United have often been fleeced, and we sort of stood our ground and not getting fleeced this summer.
Yeah,
I think they fleeced 80 million for Anthony though. That is premium on premium. If Ajax is selling Halle for 50 to Dortmund, and they sell it, who else would they sell Ajax? I can't remember, but they're selling it for cheap, and then they're charging you 80.
Oh, we'll see. I'm not sure we'll get that deal across the line. Anyway, back to Kent to tell us how great this Frenkie De Jong deal is. We're also going to pay him less than Barcelona paying him, by the way.
I was just going to say that Barcelona are in a really tough financial position. That's why I think if you are wanting to buy someone from Barcelona, they're quite desperate to sell. But it seems like the player wanted to do something else in Barcelona, kind of pushing him out the door, since they also have Kessie, I think, already registered as a player. But anyway, with regards, I think United, they say, are in for Lautaro or Lisandro Martinez, who can play left back, and DM. But it seems like Arsenal are more advanced in that deal. There is that Ten Hag relationship. So I think if the bids were matched, it will be, personally, I think he goes to United. But that would just be purely on the coach and not because of the actual team setup. I think going to United now, it's not like the same appeal as it was a few years ago, where it was any player's dream. There's a tricky element to it. But regarding Arsenal's transfers, if I can,
we'll get to that. We'll
get to that.
We'll get to that. We've got that.
Lisandro Martinez. If we just finish up the United chat, is that
there's
generally
no, Eriksen's not going there.
Erik Ten Hag has got a split in his team where he gets 6 right-footed players and 5 left-footed players into the team. So he gets a very good balance of right and left-footed players. And I think that's probably why he won someone like Lisandro Martinez as a left-footed defender. Again, why he's targeting Anthony, a left-footed right winger. United don't have a lot of left-footed players. And at Ajax, he was very, very specific about getting left-footed players into specific positions on the field.
How deep were your YouTube searches to find that out, Rohit?
Deep, bro.
What did you search? How many left-footed players does Ten Hag like? Is that what you were Googling?
Just searching the balance of his teams.
Okay, guys, let's move on a little bit more to another team that has a little bit of inactivity, but this week they showed us that American metal, that American, we can throw money at anything and we can get whoever we want, and that is Chelsea. Temple, Peter Cech gone. Marina Garskaya gone. Interim sporting director is a man who is an American sporting guy, but obviously football in England is different. There was a lot of inactivity before this week. How are you feeling now? Obviously, with Rafinha, he has to decide where he wants to go, but the bid's been taken through, and also obviously some of the outgoings. But how are you feeling as a Chelsea fan right now? Are you as worried like the United fans who are like going through a lot right now?
I don't think the word is worried. I think you just sort of have to accept that Chelsea are very much a team in transition at the moment, with Roman Abramovich gone, with a lot of the backroom staff that did a lot of the work gone. Expectations as a fan sort of need to shift just for this period, and you sort of need to accept the fact that it's not going to be all throw money, get a bunch of players, see what happens. The approach is going to be very different. They're looking to approach transfers and business much like the likes of Liverpool, be a lot more prudent with spending, be smart with transfers, but still have a little bit of that Chelsea element where we're seeing now how transfers are sort of being hijacked, or at least attempting to be hijacked, much like the Willian transfer from back in the day, Timo Werner that went horribly wrong with Liverpool. So, you're going to have to just change expectations and see what happens. But the likes of Rafinha being keen, or at least Chelsea making moves for Rafinha is a positive sign. It shows that the owners mean business, a very talented player on the wing. Also, Raheem Sterling also a very good option. An England player who wants some minutes. Thomas Tuchel also, there've been chats between or chats of Thomas Tuchel enjoying Sterling and the admiration going the other way. So I'm just hoping for more competent transfers moving forward with Chelsea, because another Lukaku situation, another Werner situation, another Ziyech situation, I'm not keen for that.
But here's the thing for me, right? With both Rafinha and Raheem Sterling, right? I see Rafinha's upside, right? And I think that's essentially why everyone's going for it, right? But from a Raheem Sterling perspective, that man's one of the most wasteful strikers in the league. It could turn out to be another Timo Werner. Because, yes, we've seen him miss in front of goals, and he scored a few goals last season, but that was in a City system. What do you think Thomas Tuchel's going to try to do different? Because I look at Timo Werner, I look at Raheem Sterling, same type of player, especially down the middle.
I think it's the getting in the right place at the right time type of thing that Raheem Sterling will probably bring to Chelsea. Both managers, Pep Guardiola and Thomas Tuchel, are possession-based managers, so Raheem Sterling will sort of be used to that system where Lukaku likes to run at defenders in a counter-attacking system. Raheem Sterling is very much used to getting in the box at the right time. And Raheem Sterling hasn't always been wasteful. I'm sure we could remember 2 seasons ago when he was top scoring like it was no one's business. So I'm not sure. Maybe with Raheem Sterling, what he just needs is to be the new number 9, is to have a certainty that he has his place in the system at the top. As the England striker. And I think that might change the outcome here. He's also a player in his peak now, like around 28, has tons of experience, and I think he has a lot to offer,
I don't think Raheem Sterling is a number 9. I must be honest with you. I think that he's very wasteful. He's done really badly as a number 9 when he's played there, and he misses bucket loads of chances. So if you're going to go into the season with Raheem Sterling as your number 9, you're probably playing a really dangerous game. If you look at the Chelsea squad, I'd suggest that Kai Havertz is probably more of a player that could be molded into that number 9 than Raheem Sterling. So
but
Kai
he did
Havertz
play false 9, so yeah.
He plays false 9, and he could move infield, making space for Sterling out wide, and that makes a little bit more sense than sticking Sterling into a position that he probably won't enjoy, especially considering his size against much bigger defenders. I don't think that's a system that would work for him.
One other thing, Tempo, you need to strengthen in other places, largely defense. A lot of your center backs have gone. Any news around that? And who are the guys that you're looking to get coming through the door?
There have been lots of chatters about some Matthijs de Ligt wanting to play some Premier League football, and we're looking for centre backs, especially if we're going to be playing a back 3 system. You're going to need a lot more centre backs. Thiago Silva can't be the guy, because right now we have Thiago Silva and then a lot of youngins, but nothing in between. And not just that, not just the centre back positions. The wing back positions also will need some reinforcements with the likes of Cesar Azpilicueta running out of his contract. Marcos Alonso, also he's been at Chelsea for quite some time and probably wants to move. I know Chelsea fans most would like him to move, and there have been talks of him going to Spain. Well, both of them. So there are lots of positions that sort of need filling up, and that's why the whole thing of Chelsea being a team in transition is something that is very important to remember, because it's not like we're trying to just fill in gaps. What we're trying to do is we're trying to overhaul an entire squad, overhaul an entire system and a way of doing things. And look, next season, not expecting any trophies. Top 4 would be great, but what I just want to see is some progress, some smart moves, and to see that we're building towards something long term. Because
so your expectations for next season is challenging for 4th.
Is getting into top 4.
Yeah.
That could be 3 as well. Something that you might not be familiar with. It's been a long time.
But they came second last season, though.
Yeah.
Okay, Sebs. Kent, any other players that Chelsea are looking at outside of De Ligt? Rafinha obviously has to make a decision as to where he wants to go play. Any other players, or is it just a little bit dry on that side of London?
I think If Rafinha deal gets hijacked by Barcelona, I think Chelsea are going to go in for Dembele then. I think Chelsea fans generally are quite chilled about that situation because they see it as a win-win. If Rafinha chooses Barca, who has been his preference since I think February, they will then set their eyes on Dembele, who has he's a great player, and I think he will do well at Chelsea, but he hasn't got a great injury record. I think Chelsea also want to bulk up in midfield. I think with Conte slightly, I think not the player that he used to be. I've heard of them being interested in Milinko Savic, I think his name is. Yeah, I think he's a very decent player. I know United have been linked with him in the past. And then in centre back,
every single season they get linked with him.
I think that's agent talk. I must be honest.
But they desperately need to get their centre backs in. I think the whole Chelsea system isn't as effective without a solid centre back pairing. I think Rudiger is a massive, massive loss for them. So it's not a position you can just easily fill in with. I've just seen De Ligt as hard links to De Ligt, but nothing yet. No other players' names.
I think Dean, you mentioned Koulibaly also linked there.
Yeah, I saw Koulibaly linked last night, but you also don't know.
But isn't he like a free? I don't know if he's on an expiring or a free agent, but he's on. I think if at best he's on that final year contract at Napoli. At Napoli, but but
he's 30 years old and he is aging. I think he can see himself in his final massive contract. So I think he's playing a waiting game, waiting to see who will come out for him. I think Chelsea are going to have a lot of competition for that kind of.
And there were also that Jules Conde or whatever from Sevilla that last season they were in, but it just never happened. So I don't know what's happening.
He looks
there.
Barcelona bound now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, Barcelona bound. Yeah. So he's been someone I think they've been working on for 2 years.
I think it's really poor planning from Chelsea to lose Christensen, Rudiger, and Azpilicueta all at the same time because you're rebuilding a defense, and the Tuchel system, sort of like the 3-5-2, relies so heavily on that defense to be building it all at the same time with players not really in tune with each other. That's going to be a hell of a task. The only two who really going to stick around is Thiago Silva, who's really old, and Reece James, who's a hell of a player. But Reece James
as well.
The problem with Reece James is he looks really, really weak as a wingback, but really phenomenal as a fullback. So he's playing in a system that doesn't always suit him, and I think that's probably one of the issues with Reece James at the moment.
Yes,
I'm sure that's debatable. But just to add to your, go ahead.
No, what I wanted to say was obviously it was this situation with Russia was just I don't know. It's
out of their hands,
but it was just and the fact that, because think about it, right? Todd Boehly would have had 10 months of due diligence to do all of this for Chelsea, and also try to figure out if they can keep Marina or who they're trying to get in, or try to find someone else. And so the fact that it's all just unraveled in the way it has, if they can actually get a center backs in, I think it'll be great work for them, especially with Todd Boehly being new. But all it means is that they are going to muddy the market. And that's my issue with all of this whole Rafinha thing, this whole trying to hijack Spurs' man, Richarlison. It just is like, okay, like it's guys who are learning on the go, and they're discovering problems every day. You walk into the office and there's no water. Todd Boehly walked into Chelsea's office on Monday and he had no centre backs. And so he needs to go find guys. So that's going to be quite interesting to see how that unravels. But my thing is with Reece James, and Tipper, maybe you can help me here, as the inside right half. So as the right centre back, I think that works. It kind of stops his attacking situation as the fullback as we saw last season, but as that inside right centre back, if Azpilicueta has to go, I think as a plaster up until probably January, that could work. But I'm not too sure. But they've also got Trevor Chalobah and guys like that. So that's going to be same as Walker for England. And so it's something that they could be looking at. But as long as Thomas Tuchel's looking for it, it'd be cool. But yeah, Tips, we'll probably be back next week discussing the same thing. So all the best. Hopefully you get your man and he doesn't choose Barcelona. So now let's move on to what I think is the two teams who think that they're winning the transfer window. If you had to give them the gold medal right now, it would have to be probably Spurs or Arsenal. I'm leaning towards my side of North London, but Dean's going to say no. It's actually
Well, you guys definitely have the best graphic designers. The way that you basically signed Rafinha on Twitter, you guys are going to build a statue for him. That's how many shirts I saw him in.
So, Dean, let's talk about your team before Kent unleashes the whole Arsenal situation. Perisic, Fraser Forster, Bissouma, Richarlison,
Lenglet, pretty much done.
Has yes, if he now always finally found a phone on holiday, Longley from Barcelona. How are you feeling? Can you challenge for the title? Because we thought Spurs previously with Kane and Son and the Ginger Salah, they could have done something. Are you believing now? Are you dreaming of a moment that you can actually finally break that trophy drought?
I mean, it's a bit of a loaded question. So I think in terms of distance between the top two being City and Liverpool, I think it's probably got smaller, but I don't think that has been taken to a point where Spurs could finish second or even first in the league. The way that those two teams are so far forward and are so dominant, I don't really see anyone else touching them. And that's just not even from a Spurs perspective. I do think the race for third is definitely a lot hotter now. And I do think Arsenal, Spurs are probably the bigger names in that kind of shot, depending on what Chelsea goes and does now. United may be dependent again on the rest of their season. But just to put it into perspective, and I think this is why Spurs fans are so happy, it was exactly last year today, or yesterday, I think it might have been, where we signed Nuno as coach. So we've gone from, in a year, getting Nuno as coach to now you have Conte, you're signing Richarlison, you're signing Perisic, you're getting Bissouma, and it's almost like too good to be true. I'm looking at my phone every time and I'm going, what is this? Normally at this point in the season, Spurs fans are looking at everyone else seeing, wow, that must be nice, and then trying to pick up some French winger on the last day of the transfer window and then him bombing. So it's been really cool. It's been really good just to see that Paratici and Conte obviously had a plan before the summer transfer window. He knew the targets that he wanted to get, and he wanted to get it early before pre-season so that he had enough time with the players. And the thing that I'm enjoying the most is he's getting players that in Bissouma and Richarlison are Premier League proven. I think it's fair to say that without Richarlison last season, Everton would have gone down. So you have someone there who's got fight, he's got the grit between his teeth, he wants to score goals. So getting someone like that is only going to boost anyone's squad. And then Bissouma, he's had his problems, but in terms of defensive midfielders, there's very few in the Premier League that you'd be looking at as saying, well, that's someone that's world class that someone could go and poach. So, 25 million there. Richarlison is about 60 million. We're not scared to splash cash, which is also something Spurs fans aren't accustomed to. And we're also getting good deals for Perisic and Fraser Forster. So I'm excited for what's to come. I see Jed Spence from Nottingham Forest / Middlesbrough is looking close. So him as right wing back is another great addition, a young wing back there. And then Lenglet, I haven't been able to YouTube his name yet.
Longley.
Longley. So we'll see how that goes. But I think there is still a little bit more to come. I do think that the Eriksen deal is probably not as done and dusted. I think for me, I think he should walk into the team, not just because he's ex-Spurs. I think he'll instantly improve us. But I do think probably what happened is they had chats with him. He said he's kind of not in a rush to sign with anyone, and Spurs went away, tried to get some of the other business done, and might probably go back for him. That's my hope, because we do need that creative midfielder to come into our squad to really make us then drive forward for the rest of the season. But yeah, overall Spurs, I'm extremely happy. As you say, I think it really is in the Premier League between Spurs and Arsenal for who's winning this transfer window, if you can call it that. Can't claim it as a trophy though. If I could, I probably would.
You can have that trophy, by the way, before Tsepo joins.
Cool. I'll take that.
That's what he needs to say. Who
Audi Cup
starts?
and transfer window 2022. Well done.
Who starts between Ginger Salah and Richarlison?
So it's a debate that I've been having, and I think and we can bring in the Arsenal chat here. I think there's a lot of similarities between someone like Jesus and Richarlison, just from a point that they can both play number 9, but they can also play out wide. And I think that was the type of player I think Spurs were going for, as a Kane backup, but also could play out wide. So for me, I still think Kulusevski plays or starts in the front 3, but I think as a game changer, giving Kane a bit more rest in the season so that he's at full attack the whole time, and then Richarlison could play either on the left or the right side. I think he's kind of that utility forward, if you can call it that. And then obviously, I think if he starts impressing, I wouldn't be surprised if he does perhaps take Kulusevski's part, and Kulu maybe drops into like a right wing back or something like that. So it's really good to have that option just either way. We've never had a backup striker anyway. So to be honest, I don't know how to play with one. So we'll see.
Yeah. Tsepo?
So one thing I wanted to mention about Spurs is that probably the side that excites me the most for the next season. After the stadium rebuild, you could see that, well, Nuno was like a little bit of a speed bump, but you could see that Daniel Levy has been a little bit more liberal with splashing the cash when it comes to transfers, and it's looking pretty exciting. I mean, I'm even willing to say, hey, top 2 could make it difficult for Liverpool to get into that top 2, because Liverpool as well now losing a lot of their forward players, their squad aging. I would love to have a Liverpool's perspective on this, but I mean, yeah, just after a great stadium rebuild, transfers are coming in. Good management as well with Antonio Conte. It looks like you guys are serious about winning trophies now for the first time in a while. So yeah, no, I'm pretty excited. Probably going to get some silverware, a cheeky little EFL or something, pip it from someone while they're not watching.
I learned very quickly not to count my chickens. Can't learn very quickly.
I'll count your chickens so that you don't have to worry. You know what I'm saying?
The one thing I will say is finishing fourth was definitely a big boost for us to be able to go out and do what we've done. So it has definitely had a knock-on effect for us, and that's not intended as a dig, but take it as it is for you and Kent over there.
Hey, look, we got who we want. We lost out to Chelsea with regards to Rafinha. But yeah, speaking about our team, Kent, the team of the transfer window, or number 2, because we don't want the transfer window trophy. This Arsenal transfer business has been pretty good. Obviously, Mikel wanting stuff done before the 7th of July, so there still might be a little bit more stuff. But you've got Jesus coming in. Matt Turner, the goalkeeper, came through the doors. Marquinhos from Brazil, who could be an exciting little addition to throw in during Europa Cup. And then obviously Fabio Vieira as the surprise package, as the Odegaard insurance. How happy are you right now? It's been a while since you've done this.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time Arsenal went out and did their business early like this, and it seems like Edu and Arteta have their targets set out. They know they want, and I think, to be honest, they both know that this is the season where you have to make it count. With Arteta's slow rebuild, getting players out the squad that Arteta wasn't happy with, and then bringing in players slowly, you're starting to see the picture now. There's still a lot of competition with the targets that they're going for, as you've seen with the Rafinha deal. But with the players we've brought in so far, I'm very happy with those players, but I think there is still business to do. We are in desperate need of a left back replacement because of Tierney being quite injury prone and Nuno Tavares being very raw. So I really hope we get the Lisandro Martinez deal over the line. I think with him also being able to play in many different other positions, it just with someone to bring off the bench, you can then put him in many different positions. He's a versatile player, and Arteta likes a player that can play a few positions. If Partey had to get injured, for example, again, you can slot him in at CDM, but I wouldn't say I'm relying on Martinez to fill that gap. I think after
He did play
Martinez,
CDM against Chelsea in the Champions League and absolutely bossed them.
yeah, he's very short. He's 5'9", I think. I wouldn't want to see him really at left centre back much. I think we got covered there with Saliba, White, Holding, and
What's the
Gabriel.
plan with
But
Saliba?
He's
I think
coming
he's
back,
going
right?
into rotation. The
he's
plan
going to get
is
a
he's
new
going into
contract.
rotation. He's gonna fight for his starting position against those other two. So one of those three is gonna miss out. My assumption, and Kent's gonna disagree with me, is Ben White. But it might just be Saliba. But
No,
the problem is
I
obviously
think-
you've got a World Cup coming up, and so with the preseason going through, Kent, it might, if he's not playing in those early preseason games, he might just be like, send me back to Marseille.
No, I think we're going to sign him onto a new contract before the season starts, and I think he's going to get a few opportunities ahead of Ben White. I think him and Gabriel will form a good partnership. But you want 4 strong centre backs, or 3 for that matter. You want partnerships forming, yes, but I think with Arsenal having a small squad last year, also the more reason why we need to bulk up our squad. But I think I'm all for the rotation. I'm all for having centre back pairings, and I think Saliba will get his chance this season. But I was just wanting to say the most important transfer, I think, where I'll be happy and I'll think that we've actually done well this transfer window, is to get a proper centre mid. I think the Rafinha deal was a bit of a luxury buy, and I don't know how I feel about spending almost 65 million on a position I feel that is already covered by Saka. It would have given us depth, which is great, but we need to spend almost not that kind of money, but we need to spend some money on a centre mid, because I don't want to go through the Al-Neni playing a role there.
The Egyptian Pirlo, come on, Kent.
He did great filling
Ramadan Rijkaard.
Xhaka and Al-Neni pivot partnership is not going to get you into top 4 in my opinion. So that's why I think that we will
It's
see
not wins you
a
Europa League, though.
They're great for Europa League, but I think we're going to have I think all the personal terms are already sorted, and we just need to now have agree on a fee for Tielemans. I think Arsenal will go back into for Tielemans once they've got the Lisandro Martinez business done. I think United are also actually linked with Tielemans, but I think Arsenal apparently have been busy with this deal for ages. They then cooled their interest when they to finish the Gabriel Jesus deal, and then trying on the Rafinha deal. But I think it's pretty much done and dusted, and it's just a fee that we have to agree on with Leicester. But Leicester, I think, are asking for about 30 to 35, and Arsenal want him for 25, and they think with him being in the final year of his contract, if he doesn't sign now, he either leaves or he has to re-sign the contract. So Arsenal see themselves in a good position, maybe towards the end of the window, where Leeds have to either get rid of him or I don't see him signing on. They will then be happy to give him away for 25, unless it becomes a bidding war with United coming in strong or something like that. And I think Arsenal are hoping for that.
Here's the United angle on that, and I think he might be one of those plan B or plan C options for Frenkie De Jong. So I think that's one of those players where Erik ten Hag said, yes, I don't think he's the type of player who's going to make this United team tick. So personally, I think United will get that Frenkie De Jong deal over the line at some point, and that would leave Arsenal with a free run at Tielemans. The knock-on effect of that might be that United then go after Lisandro Martinez to show up the defense a little bit, which might put a spoke in Arsenal's defensive cover recruitment.
I think that's why we're going for Martinez first. It seems like that deal is pretty advanced. The third bid was submitted, I think, earlier this week for 34 or 35 million pounds plus some add-ons to make it 40. If we need to get that business done as soon as possible, I think it'll be done before pre-season if it does get done, and then our final targets will be a winger and then Tielemans. I think with Rafinha falling out, it's no secret that Arteta wants to have cover at wing with Pepe likely to be going out the window. And with Rafinha out, I would like to see someone like Gakpo from, I think he plays in the Dutch league. I think he's also a player that can cover a 9 and wing. And I would like to have 3 strikers in our squad instead of just Nketiah and Jesus in case something had to happen to Jesus.
But Balogun's coming back, though. So we need to give him a run.
We will see. Balogun doesn't get loaned out enough, but yes.
One more thing, Kent. Wahid's favorite question. Yep. Where does this leave our ambitions as Arsenal regarding Mikel Arteta for next season? Is it win or bust, 4 or bust, or 2 or bust? What's the number?
So you can only answer this question at the end of the window. But if let's say hypothetically Arsenal get Martinez, Tielemans, and a winger, and they end up spending just short of 200 or maybe even over that, I think top 4 is what all Arsenal fans are expecting as minimum requirements. I think if we had to win an FA Cup, fall out of top 4, I don't think that's good enough. Not that I don't want to win a FA Cup. I think it's either you win Europa or you come 4th or higher. So that's what I expect. I can't. It is for me. I see it as a win or bust season for Arteta. You can't see the progression. If you look at his past, it's 8th and 5th. You'd expect some sort of improvement especially with the amount of investment now in the last 2 seasons or last 3 windows. I know we didn't do much business in January, but still spending 135 and then maybe over 200 this window. He must have secrets on the Kronkers if he keeps his job and he's still in favor after this kind of thing.
Okay, for you, Adam Paul, is that if you have that squad, if you assume Martinez, Tielemans, and a winger get over the line, would that team, with that squad, with a manager, let's call that manager Antonio Conte, would that team do better than just challenge for 4th?
I think Conte is a world-class manager.
They wouldn't challenge for the title.
I'm not going to pretend.
I'm saying, would they do better than just challenge for 4th?
No.
In your heart the answer is yes, Kent.
The answer to that question is yes. And that is my reason for saying that it's win or bust. It's bust time for Arteta.
I disagree. No, my point is that if I look at that... Look, I'll just do this. If I look at that squad, right, Conte is not winning the championship with that squad. He's not even coming 2nd with that squad. 3rd, yes, and we can aim for 3. But for me, even the Spurs. So that's the question I had for Dean. With that squad that Conte has now for Spurs, I thought they should be challenging for the title. But City and Liverpool are streaks ahead of everybody else, and that's the problem we have. Is that we've got 4 teams trying to fit into 2 spots, or 6 teams trying to fit into 4, but effectively it's 4 into 2.
Wahid, just a question back at you. Would you say that Spurs or Arsenal have the better squads then?
I think they're pretty even after all the transfer activity that's gone on.
Pick a side, Wahid. Pick a side.
See, I will lean more to Spurs because I rate Harry Kane and Son so highly, and I don't think Arsenal have players at that level. But I think that if you look at the level below that, maybe just below that level of Kane and Son, Arsenal have more players in that bracket than Spurs have. So that's why I'm calling it pretty equal.
No, I think that's not fair to say. Because Arsenal also have a very young squad, like a very young squad. And most of their key positions are filled by youth players. And by the time that Saka gets to Harry Kane's age, what's that, 10 years from now? That's a whole different player. That's a whole different world-class player. These guys are working with generational.
You can't bank when you look at a kid. You can't necessarily bank on them becoming world class. I mean, you sometimes look at a kid and think that they're gonna win the Ballon d'Or, and by the time they're 25, they're like Anthony Martial.
Yeah, that could be the case, but the point still remains that these guys are still green behind the ears, and that's why I think they couldn't win or Arsenal couldn't get to top 4 this season.
But
they just didn't have the gall, the experience to just get it over the line.
But
and
that's
Experience is one of the most overrated things in sport.
Yes, but to Wahid's point, an experienced manager gets that team in top 4.
Can I just
we're growing with Arteta. And that's a Dean
is sitting there smiling. Like Dean's just so happy in this conversation.
Yes, Kent.
Dean won the debate when we beat them 3-0. Dean's winning this debate. Dean's just winning all these debates.
I think, go ahead with you just saying that Spurs have the better squad if they edge it, and you saying that Arteta is win or bust. If Conte doesn't finish top 4, then I expect the same type of scrutiny where you expect Conte to be
no, 100%. 100%. But Conte isn't a trust the process manager. Conte is a here and now, get us over the line manager, whereas Arteta's been a trust the process, but we've been through 3 seasons of that process already. So we need to get to a point where it's no longer trust the process, but the process needs to be fruition. The process can't always be 2 seasons away. At a club like Arsenal, you can't always be planning. There's a here and now as well.
I agree, and there has been progression. That's why I do think we have to do better than 5th, which means top 4.
But the other thing is about Stan Kroenke and his expectations. If you look at Stan's other teams, he's been very comfortable in allowing coaches to build these systems going. If you look at the LA Rams, this has been going on for 4 years. Yes, they made the Super Bowl after year 2 with the youngest ever NFL coach that they've had there. But it was only when Stan actually put down the money for that quarterback who now his name escapes me. That's when they got over the line and they started. And so the only thing that you say about trust the process is that yes, he's been backed, and from those seasons where he's been backed, he needs to produce something. And this is
if we look at the top 6 teams. If we look at the top 6 teams, my question goes to how many of them have a top 4 or bust like ultimatum for this season? Obviously, City and Liverpool have a top 4 or bust. And then Spurs on the appointment of Conte, who's a here and now manager. Arsenal have been trusting the process for 3 seasons now and need it to happen now. Yes. We've got Chelsea, who probably might get a little bit of a free pass, and Erik ten Hag, who might also get a little bit of a free pass in his settlement season. So we're looking at a situation where it's only really Spurs and Arsenal who have like a top 4 or nothing attitude from the 4 who will be challenging.
Conte's contract runs out at the end of the season. It was only an 18-month contract, so he's gone at the end of the season anyway. So there's the option to renew for another year. So 100%, if we don't finish in the at least higher and win a trophy with him, he's also going to be like, cool, I'm out. So I do think on the balance of it, I 100% agree with your point, Wahid, and I do think there's going to be a lot more between Arsenal and Spurs this season than there has been for the past 6-7 years, probably. And I do think that Chelsea and United are really on the slip. If they don't start catching a wake up soon, start recruiting better, start doing something, I do think then 5th and 6th is theirs to almost lose to us. So it's going to swing either way. And I know we're all sitting here and we're like, yeah, cool. You look at United's recruitments last season and you guys were talking about winning the league before the season started or finishing second. And then it can go the complete wrong way as well. But there's just a few things that I think Spurs have done well. I give credit where credit's due. I think Arsenal have done really well. And I do just think United and Chelsea need to catch a wake up. But other than that, I think for me, top 4 is almost pretty much set. If you had to stop the transfer window right now and we had to play the first game tomorrow, I think it's City, Liverpool, Spurs, Arsenal. Simple.
What about Newcastle? I mean,
They're
they
still a
sit in
long
the
way away.
conversation. Look, yeah, they may be a long
Hey.
way away, but I mean, literally in the second half of the season last season, if we just took the second half, they would have been top 2. Okay. So I think that they need to be in this conversation. The transfers that they've been making in the past season, the season now, the types of transfers where Matt Target comes from Aston Villa, the chopping the people around or the teams around, they're taking away stars from there and really starting to build a good team. I'm not sure they'd be competing for like top 4, but I mean, surely they're somewhere in the conversation.
Yes,
I think they best of the rest with Villa. That's my opinion. I think 7th.
Yes.
No.
Impossible.
I think they'll be. I think they'll have the type of season that West Ham just had.
Yeah, something like that.
So that's a European season. That's 7.
Yeah.
Best
Yeah.
of the rest. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and that's where I see them right now at this point in time. But guys, we need to close it out. Thank you very much for joining. There's going to be a lot more transfer things happening. People are going to be hijacking other people's deals. So be on the watch out because Frenkie De Jong might not be at Old Trafford. He might just be at Stamford Bridge. Never know. These things happen. But outside of that, please do follow us on the socials. Follow us on our YouTube channel at One World Sports Radio. Please do share to your friends. And this is a venting space. It's a safe space. So as you saw, we're crying about the situations. Tip was like, if we make top 4, that'll be great. And then Dean is fighting to beat Arsenal at the end of next season and possibly even make a run at the Champions League. But I was surprised that actually Gareth Bale didn't make it in, but we'll talk about that next week because he's now in America. Outside of that, thank you very much, guys. Goodbye, good night, and Lesale Kakahiso.